Hey guys, before I start the podcast, a quick introduction. My name is Warnit and I'm the founder of Pet Excel Marketing. Pet Excel Marketing is a marketing agency that specifically works with pet businesses. Over the years, we have worked with pet food brand, pet relocation businesses, pet SaaS companies, pet clothing brand, cat food businesses, dog grooming services, and many other product and service-based pet businesses globally. Our services includes everything from creating graphics to running your ad campaign. Not only that, we have built amazing websites and apps for pet businesses. So if you have a pet business and would like us to help grow it, click on the first link in the description to book a call with our team. Now enjoy the podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Pet Brand Podcast. I'm your host Vernit, and today we have a very exciting guest with us. Joining us is Jamie, the founder of Innovative Pet Lab, a company that's revolutionizing at-home pet diagnostics. Innovative Pet Labs, its cutting-edge tests are helping pet owners take charge of their pet's health with a special focus on gut health, a topic that's gaining a lot of attention in the pet wellness world. Jimmy's journey from human diagnostic to the pet industry is truly inspiring. And today she'll be sharing insight on how Innovative Pet Lab is making a difference for both pet and their owner. So sit back, relax, and get ready for a deep dive into the world of pet health and innovation. Welcome to the podcast, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate and enjoy being here.
Great, great, amazing. So yeah, let's get started with the background. Jimmy, your journey with Innovative Pet Lab is truly inspiring. So before we dive into the specifics of your groundbreaking work in the pet health, could you share a bit about your background, how it eventually led to the creation of Innovative Pet Lab?
Yeah, absolutely. I would what you describe as probably the most surprised entrepreneur.
Mhm.
If you asked me 10 years ago if I would be starting a company, I would think that was crazy, but it's one of those that, life takes you in many places, and so always being open. But I spent my most of my career in human diagnostics. I've had not always, but I've spent a lot of time in kind of a niche space focusing on wellness, integrative medicine,
Mhm.
functional medicine.
Mhm.
And so spent many years with a company called Genova Diagnostics. I've
Mhm.
always been on the commercial side of it, so I was in the business side of it, but through my own passion and on my own wellness journeys, really dove in and took a hold of that opportunity to learn more about health and wellness. And so
Mhm. Mhm.
a lot of the testing we did at Genova focused on root cause medicine.
Mhm.
So, not just masking the disease, but figuring out why the disease is there to begin with. And
Mhm.
that really kind of was the inspiration too behind Innovative Pet Lab and why we kind of moved it to the pet industry. So I spent 15 years leading teams both
Wow.
domestically and internationally. And
Mhm.
then I spent a couple years at a company called Everly Well,
Mhm.
helping their enterprise business. So got the opportunity to work for an amazing entrepreneur and founder, Julia Cheek, and be part of
Mhm.
their what they were building at Everly.
Mhm.
Spent a couple years there, and when after leaving Everly, was inspired and actually connected with some of my old colleagues, old PhDs that I worked with at Genova,
Mhm.
and came up with the idea of Innovative Pet Lab.
Amazing. And I'm just
So.
I'm just curious, like how did you first identify the gap in the market for at-home pet testing and like what was it that motivated you to pursue that idea further?
Yeah, so I'm a pet owner. I've got a dog June and I've got
Mhm.
a cat Honey.
Okay.
Um, and myself and my colleagues, same thing. We all had pets. And
Hmm.
one of the things that we noticed was that our pets had the same symptoms that our
Hmm.
human patients were having. So, and when we'd take them on a health journey and say, you know what, they're itching and scratching,
Yeah.
or they're having occasional diarrhea or occasional vomiting.
Yeah.
And I want to know why. And I knew that I had the tools in the human space to combat that
Yeah.
for myself,
Uh-huh.
my family.
Uh-huh.
But when I turned to the pet industry and looking for those answers, there weren't those tools available. And
Hmm.
that really became the inspiration around why we started Innovative Pet Lab. We
Hmm.
looked at the research and there was great research being done, but
Hmm.
nobody was bringing the concept to market. And so we found that in the pet industry specifically, you've got those tests that you can run at your vet, right? And those things that are well known, like a parasite screening or whatnot that you
Hmm.
do every year. And then we have really great complex diagnostics if there's a really big problem that's going on. But
Yeah.
what there was nothing there for the in between, right? For the
Hmm.
preventative diagnostics or the
Hmm.
preventative
Hmm.
testings or
Yeah. Hmm.
cause focus. And that was really the inspiration about why we started it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And every new ventures has its own challenges, right? So like what were the obstacles you encountered in launching Innovative Pet Lab and how did you manage to overcome them?
I mean, can I pick one? Like, there's many. Oh, and somebody
But-
told me that, and I thought this resonated with me, that being an entrepreneur is like, getting up each day, getting smacked in
Mhm.
the face with a snow
Yeah,
shovel,
yeah.
and then starting
Yeah, yeah,
over.
yeah.
And
It's a journey of the
that's,
highs and the lows.
yeah, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, it's about gumption and grit, I think, more than anything. And just knowing that what you have and really believing it is really the most
Yeah.
important. So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
would say, some of the surprising challenges that came to us, the easiest thing that we did was start the lab, which people think that's really hard or complex. And maybe that just leads to where our expertise lies. We're really good at running labs and standing that
Mhm.
business up.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that was not the hard part. It was everything else that came with it. It was the building the tech infrastructure. There was multiple challenges there. It was, really the go-to-market strategy. I joke that, this maybe ages me, that I quickly discovered that I'm like, basically the Field of Dreams, that movie with Kevin Costner back in the, 90s, that if you build it, they will come. We built this. We're like, okay, we built it. We're ready for you, market. And we're
Yeah.
like, wait, where's everyone? Does everyone want this? And so I realized, like, if you build it and you market it, then they
Mhm.
come. So
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
thinking
Mhm.
through and really just being agile with our business strategies and being
Mhm.
really scrappy, because that was definitely way more difficult than we ever could have imagined.
Mhm. Mhm. And what was the breakthrough movement? Like, when did you think that, yeah, this is now working and
Yeah, I mean, there was there was a lot of them. And I would say, like, our team is really good at celebrating even small successes and saying, that was a really great win.
Mhm.
There are a couple of them. Early on, we got accepted into an accelerator program through a company called SKU,
Okay.
which CPG focused packaged goods. They
Mhm.
they take brands, and they mostly work in like food and supplement and drinks in that space. Like, they're
Mhm.
the brand behind Dude Wipe. They are not the brand behind them, don't get me wrong, but like I think Dude Wipes and Siete, some really cool, amazing companies went through SKU at one point or another. And when
Mhm.
we got accepted into that, that was kind of this huge moment for us, because I knew we needed some help there. And the fact that that organization recognized what we were building as something
Yeah.
unique,
Mhm.
scalable, and
Mhm.
they put these really amazing industry mentors around
Mhm.
you. That was a big one.
Mhm.
When we got accepted into the LEAP, the Mars Pet Care Accelerator, that was huge.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
I think, honestly, when we won our first pitch contest, that was a big
Mhm.
moment for us. We won the
Mhm.
Super Zoo pitch from the Purina Innovation Network and WPA back in
Okay.
uh, 2023. And those were like these moments that we just were like, okay, we thought
Mhm.
this was amazing, and clearly the market does as well. And those industry
Mhm.
leaders think this is a great idea too. And
Yeah.
those were some big ones for us.
And that was build the confidence to keep going, right?
It does, right? I mean, there's moments you're just like, I don't like, what do I have what it takes? Or this is
Yeah.
way, way harder than I thought it was going to
Mhm.
be. And so those,
Definitely.
and honestly, even like when we got accepted into our first retail store that wanted to carry us, that was huge. It was one store, and it was a tiny order, but we did not care. It was that like that
Mhm.
badge that
Mhm.
you had this idea, or when we launched on Chewy, I kept like pinching myself saying, we made a product that's now available on
Mhm.
Chewy. This is
Mhm.
amazing. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I think that those are you just really have to celebrate it. It's not all, I mean, it's a big thing is revenue, don't get me wrong, but it's not all
Mhm.
that too. It's those, little moments and big moments along the way that make you
Mhm.
think I'm on the right track.
Definitely. So now, let's talk about the start of the show, Innovative Pet Labs at Home Stool collection test, right? So could you walk us through the testing process and explain like how it works for the pet owners?
Absolutely. So my easiest example is, everyone knows 23andMe or the Everly Wells, or, of the
Mhm.
world. And so
Mhm.
you get a test kit from us. You can order it from our website. We're in Amazon, we're in Chewy, we're in some retail stores.
Mhm.
You purchase the test box. I don't know if you can see, but it's an at-home kit. So everything you need comes inside of it.
Mhm.
It's a stool collection. So we make a lot of poop jokes at our company. That's what we do. That's our business. Your dog's business is our business. And
Mhm.
so, or your cat.
Yeah. I was
So
thinking like, what if I ask a question and I laugh? Just give us.
listen, we are not that mature here, okay?
Yeah.
We joke, like, we shit talk all day, so it's
Yeah.
fine. But it's a poop collection right now.
Mhm.
Everything you need inside. We have a glove for sanitary reasons. We have a biodegradable poop bag. We have different modalities of scoopers, because when my
Mhm.
team was building the kit,
Mhm.
half my team wanted the tongue depressor and half my
Mhm.
team wanted the spork. So these are the conversations we have. Don't be jealous.
Mhm.
And it goes back in the box. There's a prepaid label, so it goes right into your mailbox. So package it up, ship it back. It
Okay.
gets to our lab. And then once it reaches our lab, we process it, and it takes about 10 to 14 days from the time it reaches the lab to release
Okay.
results.
Okay. And how these results are provided, like digitally through email and
It's a digital result. Yep. So online registration and then digital result. You can share them with your vet. You
mm,
can print them, and whatnot. So, and they come with recommendations, which I think is the bigger, yes, it's that we're doing an at-home kit. Don't get me wrong, that's the physical product. But
mm,
really what you're paying for and what you get is the recommendations that come with it. Because it's one thing to talk about calprotectin, beta-glucuronidase, secretory IgA. Most people don't know what that is. A
yeah,
lot of vets know what that
yeah,
is, right?
yeah.
And so what we do is we tell you this is calprotectin. It's a measure of
Writing in the
inflammation.
layman words, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And then if yours is high, here are things that you can do with your pet at home through diet,
Mm,
lifestyle,
mm,
nutraceutical changes. Or if
mm,
it's really high and it's not coming down, that's the red flag to go to your vet for a full
okay.
diagnostic.
Definitely. So you address like some pretty significant health concerns like leaky gut, inflammation, and digestion, right? So how exactly do your tests provide insight into these issues for pets?
So each one of our markers focuses on an area. So markers like a biomarker, like cholesterol, that's a marker, a biomarker. And
Okay.
so we picked markers that one, we had a lot of experience with working in with them in the human healthcare industry.
Mm-hmm.
And two, there was good research on them in pets being done. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, when we measure inflammation, we look at calprotectin. When we measure leaky gut, we look at zonulin. And so each of these biomarkers are what in the lab world we call sensitive and specific or very focused on these areas. For gluten reactions, we look at anti-gliadin IgA. For
Mm-hmm.
immunity, we look at
Okay.
secretory IgA. All these different analytes are associated with different conditions. And so what we're not doing is we're not diagnosing with a disease, right? We're not saying, oh, because you have calprotectin, it's IBD. What we're
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, there's inflammation there and it shouldn't be there. And when you
Okay.
think about inflammation, that's like I always equate it to a cut, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you get a scratch on your arm, that's
Mm-hmm.
it's an inflammatory response.
Mm-hmm.
You get a gash, that's a big difference, right? How you would treat that is a big difference. And so when we measure inflammation, we're saying, hey, if that's just a scratch, like here's some small things to do at home. Like let's maybe change the food. Let's maybe add in specific supplements like a probiotic, a slippery elm, omegas,
Yeah.
and then retest you in 3 months and see if it's come down.
Mm.
And if it's not coming down, that's a bigger red flag that now it's time for that's maybe there's a gash there and it's not a cut and you should really get this work done. So
Mm-hmm.
where the preventative testing comes in, we talk about you do your parasites every year, you do other testing every year. You should look at whether you're a dog, a cat, or a person. You should look at your gut every year.
No, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Mhm.
And if also the feedbacks from the customers can you tell us a lot about your product, right? So like
Yeah,
what has been the response from pet owners who have used Innovative Pet Lab?
honestly, I'm very lucky, and this is also you talk about like the small wins every day. When we get a customer review or a case study that they reach out to us, it is I'll tell you, our whole team shares it. We hear about it. We're a small team. We're still a small business and growing. And the response has been fantastic because at the end of the day, gut problems are hard, right? Some things are obvious like scratching, itching, or I'm sorry, not
Yeah.
scratching, but diarrhea, constipation,
Mm-hmm.
vomiting. Like, oh, it might be a stomach issue, but there's other things that can be related to gut issues that aren't so obvious, like itching and scratching, hot spots, licking, bad breath, bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times these pet parents that are finding us right now is because they're reactive, right? They've been having a problem for a while and maybe they've already done that diagnostic workup and it's really come back like we're not sure what it is.
Yeah.
And so what we're giving them is either answers or more tools in their toolbox to tackle
Mm-hmm.
this. So
Mm-hmm.
some of the bigger changes the feedback I've seen is that like specifically pets that react to gluten, not everyone's going to react the same way. We're all unique and our pets are unique, but ones that are reacting for it and making them aware of it. We've had people that said, well, my pet's on a grain-free food or a gluten-free food.
Mm-hmm.
And my response is, well, have you looked at the treats that they're eating? And,
Yeah.
looked at
Yeah.
and these types of things, and they
Mm-hmm.
found it there,
Mm-hmm.
pulled it out and had immediate responses. Or pets that like had problems with one of the markers we look at is called pancreatic elastase, and it
Mm-hmm.
has to do with digestion. And adding in that enzyme has makes such an impact and so quickly for those pets that had rapid weight loss. And so it's
Mhm.
those type of stories and reactions that really just motivate us.
Mhm. And also like maintaining healthy gut is like it's a lifetime process, right? So like how
Yeah.
can pet owners ensure that their pets have long-term gut health, especially as they age? Yeah.
So we say we should do this every year, right? In that it's a preventative test that you do every year. And we change over time. Your pets change over time. What they
Yeah.
need as a puppy is not the name
Mhm.
of the
Then
adult or
they age,
whatnot.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. And honestly, I say, you don't wake up as a person with type 2 BDs one day. You don't wake up as a pet with a
Mhm.
chronic condition.
Mhm.
That happens over time.
Yeah,
And whether
yeah.
it's diet or an exposure
Mhm.
or whatnot, but monitoring that is the true key to preventing that. And our goal is to arm pet parents with knowledge and tools to help with them make those type of decisions that are the best for their pet when it comes to their healthcare.
Mhm. Mhm. And Innovative Pet Lab has an incredible team with over 100 years of combined experience in clinical lab work. So, like, how does this wealth of expertise shape the services you provide and the quality of the test you offer?
Yes. So like you mentioned, we have a combined
100
100 years
years. Yeah.
experience in diagnostic
Mhm.
testing, majority
Mhm.
female owned, founded and operated, which we're very proud of. We do have some guys on our team, don't get us wrong, and we love our colleagues. But we take an expert from each area. So for
Okay.
example, on my team, I have Dr. Betsy Redman, PhD in clinical nutrition, spent 20 years in human lab testing on the
Wow.
clinical education side of it.
Wow.
She helped us found this company. Dr. Bob David, over 35 years running laboratories across the world.
Wow.
There's not a specimen, there is not a technology that he hasn't seen.
Wow.
To name, and from our lab team, that lab medicine is an art, right? And so it's not all created equal. And the fact that our team has a technical expertise at the lab level, and
Mhm.
we bring that skill set and that compliance that we used in the human industry to the
Mhm.
pet industry. Because I'll
Mhm.
tell you, when we entered, one of the things that surprised us was it's a very unregulated industry.
Yeah, definitely.
Big believer that regulation catches up to you and it should be
Mhm.
regulated. And
Mhm.
so we run the lab like it is a human
Mhm.
CLIA
Mhm.
certified CAP accredited
So as of now,
laboratory.
do you need any like approval to do these things like any?
No, people can
Yeah.
just, and we've heard stories. They're like, I liked my pet and I decided to do it. And, they have no background in clinical science and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah. Wow.
So it is a little bit, and as a pet parent, you should, and as vets, you should ask us tough questions. When we get tough questions, I love it because I know that they're doing their job then, right? And being the voice for their pets. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
it's our responsibility it's a pet parent's responsibility to ask those tough
Yeah.
questions, and it's our responsibility to maybe be able to answer them.
Mm-hmm. And with such a strong foundation in science, right? So, like, what exciting innovations or new tests can we expect from Innovative Pet Lab in the near future?
So come Monday, we've already started accepting pre-orders, but come this Monday, January 6th, we are launching our stress test. So it
Okay.
is an at-home stool collection,
Uh-huh.
but it looks at chronic stress in pets. So typically when you measure a stress in cortisol, it's usually done like saliva or serum.
Okay.
We're actually measuring it in a novel way in the stool because what we found through our own research, our own validation, and what was being done in the market already was that looking at it it looks at chronic stress. So we're not talking about a stressful moment when like a thunderstorm came through or the mailman was at the door,
Mm-hmm.
whatnot.
That's a constant stress that the pets are facing.
Yes, and how it impacts because chronic stress in our pets and in our people can
Mm-hmm.
impact your immunity and your gut
Yeah.
health.
Yeah.
And so what we're
Definitely.
measuring is looking at their chronic stress. Actually, and if you're super stressed, your pet can actually you can be stressing your pet out as well. So we talk about, not only is that tools for, your pets, but thinking about how as a person you can apply some of the same practices in your own life.
Mm-hmm. And definitely starting a business in the pet care industry is not no small feat, right? So what advice would you give to fellow entrepreneurs looking to venture into this space?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you have to have the passion for it, right? And not just that you think that like you could make something a neat product, but you have to
Mm-hmm.
really believe in yourself and your team. Also, surround yourself with incredible people. I always say like I love my colleagues and my co-founders, they're way
Yeah.
smarter than me.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have worked together for so long, this
Mm-hmm.
is really tough. And we have a lot of radical candor together. We don't always agree, and
Mm.
that's okay because we respect each other and we respect each other's expertise. And
Yeah.
so to build a business, put those people around you that not only will challenge you, but you
Mm.
respect when that they are going to keep you in check as well, because it's hard. You want
Definitely.
somebody when you're down that's going to help you pick yourselves back up.
Definitely. And like what would you say has been your biggest lesson so far in this journey?
I mean, gosh, there's
Mhm.
so many.
Mhm.
But I'll tell you that, when take a moment when things are tough and acknowledge it. That was hard and that's okay.
Mm.
But celebrate every win,
Yeah.
because it will keep you motivated and on that right track.
Mhm.
I'd say that's one. And my other is don't be afraid of a pivot, right? Even though don't be so married to your idea that
Mm.
you get to realize that maybe it's not a perfect fit
Mhm.
and you need to pivot it some.
Mhm.
And if you can pivot it quickly and be nimble,
Mhm.
you'll survive and you'll excel. And
Mhm.
and that's really where market feedback is so important. We
Yeah.
entered the market, we were going one direction and
Mm.
we were hitting a lot of, roadblocks. And
Mm.
luckily we pivoted, because if we wouldn't have, I don't think we would have been in business today.
Mhm.
And so, and it's hard and it's a little painful and your ego gets a little bit crushed.
Yeah. Mm.
Can't handle that. This isn't for you.
Because you think that's like a part of your identity that's being, criticized.
Yeah, and
So,
it's hard. Someone's out there calling your baby ugly, and that stinks, and it's hard
mm.
to hear. But
Mhm.
if you're really committed to what you're trying to build here,
Mm.
take that feedback, and it becomes so much better.
Definitely. And also marketing is always a challenge. So especially when launching a new product. So what challenges have you faced in promoting innovative pet lab product and how
Yeah.
you do them?
When you've got a small budget, it's really,
Hmm.
you have to be really creative. And so, we tried a few things and we spent some ad spend, and don't get me wrong, but I will
Hmm.
tell you, we've had our most success through finding good partnerships and
Yeah, okay.
accelerating.
Hmm.
Yes. And so, working together, some grassroots efforts, that also really do pay off in dividends that, weren't expected. And we're unique. Like, we love working with other brands because we don't sell a food or supplement. And so we've worked with wonderful brands to, either one, recommend our results, saying, hey, we said you needed a probiotic. Here's a great one from Therapet that we love and that our team has,
Okay.
moved
Hmm.
and don't use
Hmm.
theirs. And so
Hmm.
we've had a really lot of success with co-marketing, working with other phenomenal brands out there.
Okay.
Uh, we've also done a lot of clinical trials for them, which we love doing. So, you talked about claims and whatnot to make in the pet industry, that it's hard
Mhm.
to, we can validate some of those claims around gut health because we measure it. And so we've gotten creative when it comes to marketing and doing those things.
Hmm.
Email marketing definitely helps, but I'll tell you, we don't try and oversaturate our followers and our users with, spamming
Sales
them a
emails,
lot.
yeah.
Yeah, we try and bring
Hmm.
really a lot of substance to the.
Focusing more on the education side. Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But marketing's tough, and customer acquisition and costs are only growing. And so we have to be really
Definitely.
thoughtful where we spend dollars.
Definitely. And the pet wellness industry has exploded in recent years, right? So it shows no signs of slowing down. So how do
Yeah.
you see the industry evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think if you want to see what it looks like, you just move and look at the human industry, that we know that pet tends to follow human. And so I think some of the big trends that are coming this way are one
Mm.
in diagnostics, not just what we're doing, but in other areas that are, I think, really neat and novel and that are really needed in the pet industry.
Mm.
To the concept of personalized medicine and precision medicine. And so not treating, dogs and cats as a whole, but treating them as individuals and being very specific with their health and wellness needs, and looking at it, we say both genotypically and phenotypically. So not just looking at the downstream biomarkers, but looking at their genetic makeup. And so when you
Mm.
look at your pet's genes or your person's genes, that's the kind of, like, I always equate it to like the blueprint of a house. Like, that's the blueprint you were given,
Mm.
but also comparing that to with the materials that they need, and those are the biomarkers. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
taking some approaches. Humanization is huge. We hear it all the time.
Mm.
Pets are the new kids and plants are the new pets. And so I think
Yeah.
we'll see that market shift in a way that, if you want to know what it looks like in 5 years, just look at what's going on in the human space right now.
Definitely. And as a female founded company, Innovative Pet Labs is part of a growing wave of women-led business in the pet space. So how has this influenced Innovative Pets Lab journey, and like what role do you see women playing in the future of the pet industry?
Yeah, I mean, I love it because it's we didn't like even know we were female founded until we looked around. We're like, oh, we're all girls. Look at us doing this. We just picked people we love working with that were really smart, and we worked
Yeah,
with
yeah,
them.
yeah. Mhm.
But you know what, I do love to see, and I've been lucky to, work with organizations and big organizations, whether it's, being part of, the LEAP program and getting to, interface with a lot of the Mars team or the
Mm,
pet innovation. So, and I'm seeing the shifts and the focus they're making on DEI, women-led businesses and whatnot, and helping support and grow that. I love to see that because I think it's long overdue across multiple, industries at large. But I'll
mhm,
tell you, as my own personal experience, I don't feel in any way that have been hindered or held back. If anything, I feel like the pet community has jumped all over it and
mm,
really tried to lift us up because of that, which I really appreciate.
mhm. And also, like, what do you think is the biggest challenge in educating pet owners on the importance of the gut health of your pet?
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, people always want the easy button. I want the easy button. There's enough out there, and there's also so much information.
Mm,
You navigating all this information of like, there was it was like an Instagram meme of it. It was of this woman. It was like, but I need more cortisol, but I should do a hit workout, and I think it's the same in the pet industry. Like, there's all this thing they're throwing at us that what we should be doing for our pets and
yeah,
how we
yeah,
feed
yeah.
them and whatnot.
Mm,
I
mm,
always, I think that at the end of the day, as a pet parent, our job is to be their advocate. And we're also supposed to, and do what's best. And so what I always say is that we're going to meet the pet parent where they're at.
mm,
And our goal is to help educate them that, hey, here's some options for you. You get to make that choice, but we're just going to help navigate this whole stream of health and wellness and what I should do and how I should feed. And, I'm feeding this and what's bad, or I'm giving them that and I shouldn't. And so ultimately is to arm them with education and
mhm,
tools.
mhm. Now, also
So it's a lot.
staying, yeah, yeah. You saying something?
Yeah, I said it's because it's a lot. It's a lot to take on.
Definitely, definitely. And I guess pet owners get confused with all this stuff, all this new research coming up and all this stuff. Yeah.
They do, and the thing is that there's waves of it. Like, oh, I should be doing this, but now, nope, nope, no, that's bad. Or I should feed this. Nope, no, no,
Yeah.
that's bad. And
Mhm.
I think that making the choice of what you feel like is the best for your pet, and helping. And our goal is to help them navigate that.
Mhm. And also staying connected with your audience is vital in in any industry. So like how important is for a pet brand entrepreneur to maintain that close connection with their target audience, and like and what's the best way to do it? Best way to tell your story and make sure that your audience is connected with it.
You have to know who you are and you have to know who your customer is, right?
Yeah,
And so,
yeah. Hmm.
and I think the first year or two, you're on a journey of that, right? That you're like, okay, I think this is who our demographics are speaking to, or I think this is who our audience is. But if
Hmm.
you're not collecting feedback and actively collecting it through your customers, then
Hmm.
you could be potentially doing something out there that's just spinning your wheels. And so getting close to them, whether it's through social media, whether it's through email, whether it's through feedback loops, asking for, to give reviews and good or bad and or responses. You
Hmm.
have to be there talking to them, follow
Hmm.
up like you're in retails, going to those retail stores and asking them what feedback their products are getting at. You
Yeah.
have to be so invested in that. And it's not easy and it's time consuming. But
Hmm.
if you take the time to do that early on in this journey, then your chances of success is
Hmm.
severely
Basically, you build
because
a
you're
better foundation for the next. Hmm.
exactly right.
Definitely. And like, this section is more about like fun and personal questions. So when you're working in the pet industry, it's easy to get caught up with all the challenges, right? So like, but what's your favorite part about working in this space?
The people. I will tell you,
Mm.
the pet industry has
I guess
the
I
best
get this
people.
same answer with all the people there. Like the peoples are amazing, and I'm like, passionate about that. So yeah, that's it.
I mean, listen, I spent 20 years in human healthcare, and don't get me wrong, like I have wonderful colleagues there and have,
Mm,
partners and clients that I worked with.
mm,
But I think I came into the pet industry with that wall initially up of like, okay, I'm just ready to get like, full face at me. And instead, I found this welcoming group of people that
mm,
lifted me up,
mhm,
gave
mm,
me recommendations,
mm,
promoted me without me asking, or not just me, the
mhm,
company.
Mm.
and really just took hold.
Mhm.
Early on, I was lucky we met these two wonderful influencers, the two crazy cat ladies that I probably met on day one of us launching, and Dr. Katie Woodley, natural pet vet. And I'll tell you, they put their arms around us and asked for nothing in return and like promoted us to this mass following because they
Wow.
just really like the product. And so those are
Mhm.
those moments where like the pet industry people are wonderful.
Mhm. I get the same answer with all the guests that I've host.
Yeah. So yeah, I just sometimes it's like pinch me moments where like, hey, can we do a live with you and your million followers? And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I just think like, wow,
Yeah.
where did this,
Mhm.
they're just
And
very
do
giving
you
and they do a lot
like
forward.
was
And each time
the yeah, yeah, sure. And was the human like was that stressful, or like this was more stressful for you, the pet
I would say
community?
it's different stress, right? And so the
Mm.
human space, I mean, when I was there, I had different roles and different teams and responsibilities that,
Mm.
it was a different type of stress. This is stress because we built it, right? It's ours. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day,
Mhm.
no matter what problem throws our way, it's my problem. It has to get solved. And
Mhm.
so, and plus we care so much. And we want every pet parent to be, and every vet that we work with, and every partner to be happy with us. And so, granted,
Mhm.
it's not always going to be the case. And people don't realize we read every bad review and good review, and we talk about that feedback. And so, I think that's just something that, it's to always consider.
Mhm. Definitely. And if you could offer like one piece of advice to pet parents about caring for their pet, like what would that be?
I would say, give yourself a break, right? It's tough and it's hard. And, like we said, we meet you where you're at. But, not only are your pets are what they eat, but they are what their food eats too. And so it's a Dr. Mark Hyman quote. There's a book I read that he's an integrative thought leader out in the human space doctor. And he said, it's not what we eat, it's what our food eats. And that's the same for our pets. And so at the end of the day, thinking about what you're putting in them, and we love to give them treats and we love to, but it's like giving our
Yeah.
kids treats. I've got my
Mm.
human kids too. Like
Mhm.
they eat a lot of
Mhm.
cupcakes. Guess what's going to happen?
Mhm.
And it's the same for our pets. So just, for one, give yourself a break. This is tough. And there's a lot of things out there and there's a lot of information out there, but
Definitely.
think through basics of diet, nutrition, and the common sense is already there. So
Definitely. And as someone so immersed in the pet health, like what's one surprising thing you have learned about pets and their health that you never expected?
we've done a lot of like look now into the
Mm-hmm.
gut bugs that we received and whatnot. And I would say for the most part, it's there's definitely a lot of like immunity and leaky gut issues going on in the pet space.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really trying to get to the root causes to why. We see it's there, and they're suffering from. We've got some hypothesis. And so I would say, even more now than ever, being really focused on your pet's diet and
Mm-hmm.
making good solid choices because of, the thousands of tests that we've seen and the number that come through with either an immunity issue or a leaky gut issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty decent. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and seeing changes once we make results and they retest with
Wow.
us and see how that
Mm-hmm.
improvement is
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot more of that going on, in the pet world than what we think of. And so being really
Mm-hmm.
thoughtful of your pet's diet is
Mm-hmm.
important.
Mm-hmm. And also like now you have a lot of data to go through.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is honestly, that's the exciting part for us, right? It's data that's never been collected on pets before, right? We're actually looking at these gut biomarkers in a real life setting, and we can look at their diets and we can look at their lifestyle, we can look at their nutrition, and then we get to, where we're
You give
going
the
in our next.
recommendation and that changes them.
Yeah, but using that to further define and better pet medicine, we
Yeah.
right now we're
Mm-hmm.
getting more breed specific and age specific. And the more
Mm-hmm.
data we get, the more that we can do
Mm-hmm.
that. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the exciting part of what we're
Mm-hmm.
building. And the more testing that we add,
Mm-hmm.
we have all this biomarker information correlated with, diet and lifestyle that we
Mm-hmm.
can really get into that precision medicine mode.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the future of where we're going.
Mm-hmm. On a side note, like the data that you're talking about, like is that also a revenue source? Like you can sell that data to veterinary companies and all. Is that also
I
something?
think always data is a revenue source. We're not currently doing that. We're
Yeah.
currently keeping it internal.
Yeah.
I think it's always like a philosophical, like, decision as a
Okay.
founder, what you do
Okay.
with people's data and what with pet data. It's again,
Mm-hmm.
we come from highly regulated human space, so we're very, I laugh. I'm like, oh, you can't show the result. It has their name on it. I was like, it's a dog name. We can show it, or you're allowed to do that in the pet space, but we treat it
Mm.
the same way.
Okay.
So eventually, not so much as like the revenue source, I think it's more of furthering the research and the health and wellness of pet source and partnering with those in the industry that we can then say, hey, we have all this great information,
Yeah.
let's think about how we even fine tune it more. And that's what we're more interested in at the moment.
Definitely. And this is like a personal question. Like we all have those moments that make us smile with our pets, right? So like what's your favorite pet related memory that always brings a smile to your face?
Oh my gosh. So we just
There must be so
got
many.
I know there's so many. I mean, there's so many. Like the day we got our dog with my kids and like seeing them so excited. And I've
Mm.
had, dogs my whole life, but I would say a recent one that's just front and center in my mind. So we just adopted a kitten. We've wanted a cat for a long time.
Wow.
We just like, rhyme or reason didn't do it. And I always said when we get the cat, we're adopting a cat. And so we just got her name is
Mhm.
Honey Gucci, because we couldn't decide on one name and I have three children and
Honey?
that's a
What?
Honey Gucci, like
Okay.
honey, like the food,
Uh-huh.
and Gucci, like the designer brand. So
Yeah.
don't very long story.
Mhm.
But so and I have an English Golden. Her name is June, sweetest dog in the world.
Mhm.
But June's ruled the roost, and we brought this teeny beautiful kitten in the house. June was terrified of her at first,
Okay.
and then within like 24 hours, I have these videos of them sleeping together,
Wow.
playing together, and it's just like that moment that I like. Now I'm the person that goes down the rabbit hole finding dog cat videos all the time, and I'm like, oh, look how cute they are. So
Now
I
you
would
can
say
create
that's
your own content.
yeah, I mean, seriously, they're a hoot. But
Mm.
yeah, just watching that, right? That bond between a dog and a cat and that instant nurture came out in June and when she was initially afraid and Honey feisty, all 2 pounds of her, like just attacking June all the time. And so they're constant
Mm.
entertainment and I love it. And so
Definitely. And
yeah.
if you could instantly solve one major problem that you see in the pet industry, so like what would that be and why?
Yeah, so it's honestly what we're out to do right now, and that's prevention, right? It's
Yeah.
that
Mm.
moving from this reactive type of mentality to a
Mm.
preventative mindset. And that is ultimately our goal, is that I think a lot of what we see, pets aren't living as long. There's more cancer right now. And so what it comes down to is prevention. And we talk a lot about our ultimate goal is not just, extra years with our pet, but it's quality at the end
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, quality and healthy
So
life.
that comes down to
Mm.
preventative measures. And so I think that's a big thing. Again, all this information, this great new health and wellness products are thrown at us, but what's right for your pet? And so I think thinking more in terms of preventative type of medicine than reactive medicine is, I think, a big thing and a trend that we're seeing in the market as well.
Definitely. And the last question from my end, like the pet industry can be complex and competitive, right? So for those just starting out who's listening to the podcast, who wants to start it in the space, like how do you recommend navigating these complexities while building your pet brand?
Ask for help and reach out to
Yeah.
other founders because they will
Mentorship.
help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's a hard lesson for me is asking for help. I don't like to. I feel like I don't want to bother them with asking for help, but I think people want to help you. And I think, and especially in this industry, I can firsthand say how much help we got. So don't be afraid to ask for help and reach out to other founders. Ask what they learned. I mean, I love learning from others' mistakes and wins, and so that helps fast track you. So I would say don't be afraid to reach out and then, ask them their biggest wins and ask them their biggest losses.
Mhm. Definitely. And that brings us to the end of today's podcast or Pet Brand podcast. And before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to thank you, our amazing guest, Jimmy, for joining us today. And her insight into pet health, particularly around gut health, has been incredibly valuable. And we're grateful for her time and expertise. Jamie, thank you so much once again for being here.
Uh, Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Great, great. It was amazing. And to our listener, we hope you enjoyed this conversation and learned something new to help you in your own pet care journey. Be sure to tune in next time for more stories, tips, and insight from the world of pet brand. Until then, take care of your pet and remember their health is in your hands, right? So, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's the end of the podcast.